Good morning and welcome to the Marketing Club. I am your host, Favour Obasi-ike, and you are now tuned in to the Marketing Club where we focus on helping you grow and giving you information you need to know so that you can make better decisions for your business long term. And one of the things that we are going to discuss for long term growth is SEO, podcast, and email marketing. And when you look at these three things, they're going to play a big role into your branding, into your messaging, into your style, into what you're saying, how you're saying things, and letting people know that, you care about them. So you have to give them information, up front. And you're looking at a bigger picture, right? And what is this bigger picture? This bigger picture is the foundation of your conversations with people from the first word that you use. Because the words that you're using are words that you're going to express because you're showing interest in something that is actually gaining value for you over time. So there is the power of using, SEO, the power of using podcasts, and the power of blending those together is a completely exciting experience. Welcome, Emmanuel. It's a very exciting experience because you get to learn how people connect with you. You get to learn how people want to work with you, and you also get to learn how people stay in touch with you, right? So people want to stay in touch, they want to connect because there are things that they want to learn about what you're teaching. And this is something that is very important to look at when you're thinking about the power of driving conversations, the power of podcast, and the power of email marketing. How do these work together? And if they're working together, what is the cause? What is the alert? What is the goal? What are the things that people want to see? And if we want to see these things, we have to think about it from, a big perspective, right? How do we want to build relationships? How do we want to build tenacity? How do we want to build authority? How do we want to build and expand on these things that we are building just so that we can create, the goals, the perspectives? So there's so many things that I want us to look into today, but I also want to share how important these things are for your business, for the growth of your company, for the growth of your mindset. Because when you think about SEO, it may be daunting, right? It may feel like this is not what I want, this is not what I asked for, this is not what I need, but this is something that I've heard about. Podcasting, it sounds like it's a lot of work because I have to edit, I have to buy the microphone, I have to pay for someone to give me a script, I have to pay for something to get something out of it. Yet, the time we have to just turn on the microphone, record, say what you have to say, and let it go is hard because we're thinking about all the technical stuff. Hey, Jill, welcome. We're thinking about all the technical stuff. These are technical things that we shouldn't be thinking about because we're creating consistency and building tenacity, right? We've talked about Pinterest yesterday. Today, we're talking about email marketing, podcasting, and SEO. So if you have a podcast, I have a podcast. It's called We Don't Play. And you can click the link above in the description and you'll be able to see the podcast button and look at the big picture. Like, how are you connecting with your audience? Podcasting is one of the best ways to do it because when you show up and you give people new information, they're learning from you, they're taking information, they're taking their time to read, to actually connect. Those are hours that you're putting on the web that is going to apply for your SEO. Big jump backlink opportunity cost, because SEO is big on backlinks, right? With SEO, search engine optimization, a lot of companies want to know how to increase their backlinks. How do you improve your backlinks? How do you make your backlinks more authoritative, right? And you have to look at the authority, from the perspective of how are we actually connecting the dots? What are we actually saying online that is actually giving people the ability to connect with us, right? Because the connections we're making are connections that are going to last a long time. So, how do we make time for those things that we're creating over time, right? There's so many moving parts. You can say that too. You can say there's so many moving parts, there's so many factors, there's so many decisions. How do we make this work for us? What do we have to do? And where are we going? What are we creating? It's very stressful. It's very stressful, and I can tell. And if you want to, create this for yourself, you have to think about where you're actually connecting with people. So, how do you connect with the right person? And this is where you start to actually give people, a perspective, right? On how you want them to address, how you want them to connect, how you want them to build, you know, with you. Where those pointers that we have to, we have to look at. We have to create these things. And these are things that you have to think about, right? You have to ask yourself, how am I going to intentionally create an expressive comment or say something that is going to actually give me the value that I'm actually requiring? Because now I can actually connect with you, right? Now I can actually give you information you're looking for freely, because there's more so of a there's a huge goal and capacity that you can actually achieve by being very intentional, with the way you show up, right? The way you want to connect with people, right? And how do you connect with those people in a very fast way? How do you make sure that they're actually seeing what you're saying and do it in a way that you also don't feel like it's too much either, right? Because when it's too much, it becomes too stressful. What's up, Brahim? Shout out to Spain. I love Spain. So you have to look at your business, big picture, right? How do we create this picture for people? How do we paint this picture for people, right? Because when we think about painting pictures, there are a lot of things that we have to consider, right? And we have to think about this thing very, very seriously, right? And we have to ask ourselves, how do we do these things in a very creative way? And you want to ask yourself the big question, which is, hey, Misha, ask yourself the big question, which is, what is my intention, right, when I'm showing up online? And how do we actually make this work? What is the factor we have to consider? Like what is really going to make this a good experience for us? What is going to make this something that you actually want to think about as a business? Like, is there anything specifically that you want to think about? Is there anything that you want to do? Is there anything that you want to learn about? So these are questions that you have to ask yourself, because the more you're able to understand that the people you're serving are needing information you have so that they can actually get by to where they're going, then you need to give them that framework so that they can feel connected to you. If you can't give them that framework early, guess what? They're not going to really value your time either, because they feel like their time is not being valued or reciprocated. So there has to be that exchange. There has to be that flow. So when I'm thinking about events, I'm thinking about connections online, I'm thinking about places people can actually learn from you, then these are the things that very many people need to ask themselves. Are these places that we want to be in? Are these things that we want to do? If we want to do these things correctly, we have to think about the focus point, the focal point. And what's that focal point? How do we use time right now to get the best results for the connections we're trying to make, right? Because if the power of podcasting means that we have a podcast, right? We have a podcast. And this podcast is the podcast that's actually going to get you people that want to talk with you, right? So, how do you get to these people in a very convenient way? There has to be some type of way that you have to connect with them. And if it's not working right now, work, are you going to try to make it work if it doesn't work? And and these are the questions that you have to ask yourself as a business, so that you're not thinking too far down, too far up as well. So we're gonna touch on podcasting as a focal point, but we're gonna use SEO on one arm and email marketing on the other arm. And we're gonna talk about that. Hey Pierre, how are you?
Good morning. Just fine. Just thought I would give support today. I love the topic about SEO, podcasting, and email. So love that you're tackling this today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as I'm speaking to you, this room, I just actually hit send to my email list, and I picked out, the people who are really out of the 7,000 of them, about 2,000 of them are interested in events. So I just sent out the emails. So I don't know how this room is going to look in the next few minutes, because people are clicking on the links, and you see. Do you guys just see what just happened? Pierre, did you just see that? I just said I just sent an email.
Yeah, I just looked at the page and wow, I noticed some people are jumping in here today. So because I know there was like a few people when I came up on the stage, and all of a sudden it's everyone popping in. But that's good. That means that they want good information and they know that you're going to bring it. So there you go.
This is what I'm talking about. This is a live example. Anybody who just came in here from the email, thank you for being here. Like, you are so welcome. And I'm really appreciative of you being here today, because I want today's room to really make sense for this hour that I'm going to give you this Monday morning. It's something you have to think about for yourself and ask yourself, how are we going to connect the dots, right? Because the power of email marketing is what just happened right now. You see, people are still coming in here. Anisha, welcome, right? Because I sent the email only has 3 lines. I said, I'm live on Clubhouse, join me for an hour, join room. That's all I said. So the power of SEO is because I put the title of this room. So whoever sees the title in their email and clicks on it has a desire to understand more. We're on a podcast right now because you're listening to something that is in real time. And email marketing is what brought us together. So this exercise that just happened right now is something I want you to apply for yourself, for your business, for the people you're connecting with, because the connections you're going to make are really going to stand the test of time when you're considering options for connecting with people over time. So you're creating an experience that allows someone to feel like they're being heard, they're being listened to, they're being understood, and they're being related to. Because SEO is not just links or just copy or just content. SEO is life. It's what we do every day, right? You go into the fridge, you're looking for something. That's SEO. The fridge is here. There's fruit on this side, there's vegetables on this side. It may not look like SEO, but it's called search. Engine. What's the engine? It's the refrigerator. What's the engine? Is the cooker. What's the engine? Is the car. So you don't put the engine and just put in a box. The engine can mean anything, right? So if you're in your walk-in closet, that's your engine because you're looking for shoes, you're looking for the dress, you're looking for the tie, you're looking for the belt, you're looking for the jewelry, you're looking for the cologne, the perfume. It's somewhere, but you got to search for it. And if you know where it is, you don't have to search for it because you already know where it is. So when you're building connections with people online, the goal is to make sure that it actually makes sense, right? It makes sense to those people because they feel like they're actually connecting with you, right? And it's not just about SEO, SEO, SEO. It's okay. We want to work with people who really want to understand how they can value their time, especially in a time like this when there's so much happening. People don't know what to do. We're sending emails everywhere. We're doing this and that. How do we connect? And I was like, nah, there has to be a way. Before this room started, I used my AI assistant, right? And the AI assistant, this is very interesting. The AI assistant, I asked the AI assistant to read the whole page, right? And give me the list of countries that are listening to the podcast, the We Don't Play podcast. The last time I checked, it was 117 countries. Today, there are 119 countries that are listening to podcasts. So I'm not even looking at those numbers because it's just on the go, on the go, on the go, right? So one episode gets to somebody in Poland, gets to somebody in India, gets to somebody in Australia, and it's they're receiving that information. If they like the topic, they're gonna listen to it. Somebody sent me an email 2 days ago talking about an episode I do with Mark Spera on SEO and growth, for AI responses, and that person, made a connection. Some other people have made a connection on LinkedIn. So for me, the communication is the biggest thing. If that communication is not making sense, it's not going to add any value to you. It's going to be a distraction. And I don't want to distract anybody from whatever action they want to take. That is very important to them. So let me ask you this, Pierre. When you look at email marketing, podcasting, and SEO, especially from your analytics perspective, how important is it for people to consider those factors and understand why segmenting is important and not just blasting emails to everybody at the same time?
Important because it gives you a little bit of direction. Actually, gives you a lot of direction on who's responding, who's not, and where you can kind of make adjustments. That's kind of the big. People hear analytics, think of it more as a tally, like the number of people who are on my email distribution. You kind of think of it as this sort of. Let's see. Up, I got the red band here. Hang on for 1 second. I just had a red band that came up, so hopefully you can hear me. Um, but basically, it's about trying to figure out which segments are responding to your email. One of the challenges that people tend to run into with analytics is that they think of it as just the count, like the number of people I have following or the number of people who are on my email distribution. That is a natural, it's natural to have that number. But what you want to do is dig in and figure out, of the people that you have following you, how many people are clicking on either an ad or an email or anything else. That's why if you look at email, for example, that's why when people talk about email campaigns, they talk about open rates. And it's the idea of, how many people are opening the email, or even what's worse, how many people are unsubscribing from your email campaign over time. So your analytics should be helping you to understand that over time, each time that you're sending out a campaign, or even like after sending two or three campaigns, what are people are responding to and what they're not responding to. It does take a little bit of time, but having that helps you to figure out what's the next content you should send, and helps you to figure out what you can do next that will keep customers engaged, so that way when they are ready to make a purchase from you or ready to work with you, or even make a donation if you're doing a nonprofit, those things come into play. So I hope that helps, Favor.
It does. No, thank you so much for adding that. It's so important to analyze those factors and, understand where we're going with emails, where we're going with communications, because sometimes people don't know what to send. They may know what they're sending. They may be sending it for promotional purposes. They might be sending it for marketing purposes, for PR purposes, for public service announcement purposes. The list is endless. But when I'm looking at it from, okay, I want to connect with this person because this is what they're looking for, this is what they need, then they're going to bring it together, whether it's a for profit or a non-profit. We've worked with both organizations, and I've seen it in 11 years doing business, and just growing it. And 2 decades is going to be next year in the entertainment industry, in music. I've seen how distribution comes. That's why there are artists that do well because of distribution rights, royalty rights, licenses, certifications, those kind of things. We don't see those things. Like if you're a business, if you're in music, like for me, my music is with BMI. So I can get royalties from my music with BMI because I'm subscribed to that distribution network, right? Somebody else could be ASCAP. Those are other musical royalty right companies that people don't think about. That's why when you hear artists fighting over masters, fighting over royalties, fighting over distribution deals, or like Nicki Minaj, for example, she had a 360 deal when she first started. What does that even mean? People don't know these things. You just sign the dotted line and boom, you're in. But you don't even know what you're doing because you're not really getting to understand the value of connections. When you're a musician, if you're an author, if you're a stage presenter, if you're a keynote speaker, if you're somebody that's actually out there talking and you're building relationships with people, if you're connecting with people at that large scale, there should be a home base. There should be a home base because that home base should be a podcast. It should be a book. It should be something that people can go to when you're offline, right? Someone can listen to your podcast and understand that, okay, this person has been here. Like all through the month of October, I've been flying and I'm still flying. So I'm not on Clubhouse as much because this month I was in a wedding last week, this past weekend, another wedding last weekend. This week there's something else happening. So it's back to back to back. Next weekend something else is happening. So in my mind, it's working like a well-oiled machine because I have a team. If I didn't have a team, if we didn't have a structure, you can't do this on your own. You can't, because for you to scale as a business, send out emails, connect with people, onboarding, auditing, project management. Those are things that you have to consider, right? So if a client comes on board, how do you work with them? What do you tell them? How do they feel? Because sometimes I think the biggest barrier for clients is the money factor. If money was not in the way, a lot of things could be done by now. But that's also to say that you also think about where your priority lies, because your priority may not be that right now. It could be in 3 months, it could be in a year, but when you're ready, it makes sense. I'm gonna give you guys a quick, hot update because I haven't said this much, but it's been happening. We have an offer for SEO services right now, and it's a very customized, nice package because I really think about businesses, and since we're doing a lot of digital billboards now, we want to make sure that you can get the maximum capacity. So you don't have to spend too much either to get that maximum depth of field. So right now we have an offer with our clients for our base offer. Instead of you having a $500 a month offer where you have for 3 months, it will be only for $1,000 for 3 months. And we're going to handle that lift-off package and give you a lift-off literally within 3 months and give you that, uphill so that you can get everything in place, get you situated, do some A/B testing, get on some billboards, understand where your market is, have a mind map for 2025. So you're not just looking at the 3 months as, okay, what's happening in these 3 months? We're actually creating a roadmap for 2025 from January through December, like a calendar year, so that by this last quarter, like the last quarter is the most important quarter when you think about basketball, right? If that last minute, that last second doesn't count, this is the right time that it has to count. So this is the last quarter of 2024. And I said, you know what? I'm going to help businesses. We're going to open it up for businesses. It's not everyone. So it's also limited too. So first come, first serve. And if you opt in and you get on a call, you can click the link above, book it. I'll tell you about it in more detail because I want you to really think about your audience. Think about how you're connecting with people and why you're connecting with people, especially with email marketing. Let me give you a story about email marketing. Flowdesk. I use Flowdesk for email marketing. So the emails I'm sending, I use Flowdesk, 100% transparency, right? And I've said it before. Why Flowdesk? We've been using Flowdesk since 2019, right? And we just had a partnership deal with Flowdesk, finally, just last week, because Flowdesk reached out and they were having some really cool features that they've released. So, and I'm going to be talking about them, this holiday season. Because if we sign you up as well, we want to give you that opportunity to see those things. Things like spin the wheel, things like a countdown timer, things like videos, polls, things that you actually would need to build customer relationship management. It's customer relationship management. So if I'm having a relationship with you, how am I managing that relationship? I'm not serving you bread and butter every day. Today could be bread, tomorrow could be toast, the next day could be waffles, the next day could be bagels, right? They're different things because that's a relationship. I get to know what you like, what you don't like, because we're getting to know each other, right? If I keep giving you white bread every time, I may not know that you like multigrain. You don't know those things. So how do you connect with people in different capacities? Welcome, Julie. And you make sure that those capacities are filled to the brim so you can teach people how to do those things. Like billboards, they're so new because not everyone knows about billboards. I can't just say, oh, billboards, billboards. Some people have never thought about a billboard. Some people don't even know there are billboards on the road because they don't pay attention to them. Then when you start paying attention to billboards, you're like, oh, wow, I see a lot of them now, right? And then you start paying attention to what they're actually saying on those billboards. It gives you creative ideas, right? Right now, we're running billboards in so many cities. It's amazing to see. And I'm just looking at the traffic. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Train station, check. Okay. Gym, check. Okay. Highways, check. And I'm getting to understand where people are interacting, right? Because on the reverse, it's helping. It's helping people know, right? It's helping people understand where they have to be. If you have a podcast, if you have a business, if it's local, how do you do that? We have a company we're working with, a client we're working with, and they do mobile drug testing in Memphis. And their competitors Concentra, right? That's what he told me. And today we're gonna be running billboards in Memphis near his place because he told me that people usually go towards the airport and then that's when they go passing Concentra. So his office is literally in between those two streets. So why not run a billboard where you're getting about 2,000 people, 3,000 people per hour at peak time where there's traffic, and I'm showing you 6 seconds of my brand within a 60-minute cycle. And if I'm stuck in traffic for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, imagine 6 seconds times the number of minutes you're stuck in that traffic on that same road, on that same lane. So if you're really thinking about branding, contextual marketing, not just buy one, get one free, actually tell them, hey, you're stuck in traffic. Listen to this podcast while you're stuck in traffic. Somebody's going to be like, huh? But you've struck a nerve because now you actually connecting with this person. You're not just showing them that you have a brand or you have a business. You're actually talking to them like they're actually reading what you're saying on the screen. If you're watching TV, you're reading the subtitles because you want to understand what the movie's about. So you have to understand what you're talking about to the people you're connecting with. It just has to make sense that way. So we have to think about these things collectively and understand that there has to be a reason why you're sending an email like what I did today. I was not planning to, but I said, because I want to show you guys the power of what it does. You guys saw that. Pierre saw that. I think Misha saw that. And you were able to see what it did and what it's still doing. Because after this, the replays are still on. I can go back and say, hey, here's a replay in case you missed it. Then I get a notification, oh, you have 5 replays, 10 replays, 50 replays, 100 replays. Those replays turns into calls, into connections, into meeting up in person, into referrals. Like we're living in a world where it's so small, but we can be so connected if we really take the time to care about the people that we're connecting with. I'll pass it to you, Pierre. We'd love to hear what you want to say, and then we come to you, Ryan. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I want to also add too is a lot of times people there's a habit in small businesses sometimes. I'm going to raise my hands sheepishly and say I'm one of those people who have that habit where sometimes your email campaigns you may have stopped or paused temporarily for a lot of reasons. You can still use opportunities like this to reconnect with people. That can be helpful and it's a good way to refresh your email. distribution a little bit as well too. Not everybody, unfortunately, one of the sad truths is that not everyone stays on for every reason. Sometimes if you're a B2B, for example, you may have businesses that you serve who are your customers, but sometimes those businesses do stop being a business, or they stop or go out of business. So sometimes these sort of things can help refresh your connection. And then also, if you're offering a new type of service or new type of product, you need to be able to kind of let your trusted customers know that, hey, not only are you still around, but also we have this new offering that might be as help to their businesses as well too. So for those of you who are working with who offer a business or product or service as with someone else who happens to be a business, use this as an opportunity also to refresh and regain the engagement. I've seen that happen multiple times. Particularly now, I think social media is still valuable, and the digital ads are still valuable. But with email, there's already a certain buy-in that the customers are may not be willing to buy right this second, but they are definitely there to listen to you, and you might be able to take advantage of that when there hasn't been much communication. So sometimes that happens, but definitely use it as a way of re-engaging people. Favor, back to you.
I love that. Thank you. Re-engaging and reconnecting is the best way to revitalize and also reaffirm the intention of the connection you're setting and you're creating. The more you connect with people at a more intentional point of view, the better. For example, I talked about this yesterday with billboards. There's a company that I'm looking at, and I love their style because they do recovery right after workout. So if I'm going to run a billboard ad for this company, I'm just telling you what we're about to do so you can actually kind of hear it, and it will make sense so that you can also see it. If you're going to the gym every day, or let's say you're going 3 times a week, maybe 2 weekdays, one weekend, for example, and I know you're going at maybe 5 a.m., 6 a.m., just based on peak time that I can see within that zip code, right? If I know that I have a commercial address with this zip code, and nearby, 5 miles down the road, there is a gym, right? That is, or even 10 miles, it could be really close. And there's a gym there, and people are living in this area. People don't want to drive past 10, 15 minutes to go to the gym. They don't want to drive 30 minutes going to the gym, right? 15 tops if they really have to, but the less the better. The faster the better. The closer the better. So if I run ads in, like, even if it's video ads, which I can, and run those ads that they're running on, Instagram and Facebook, and do maybe one or two of them based on the highest that's performing, and I'll put those ads in a gym, and I'll say, hey, I know you're at the gym, but you also need recovery time, right? Come to this place and we can show you a good time, right? What I've just done is I've kind of made you feel happy about you working out. You actually feel more pumped up in the gym because you read that, and now your mental is like, oh, aha, I didn't know there was something like that. It's close by. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Let me check their website. Let me book. So somebody's booking at the gym for a recovery session because they saw something that made sense to them contextually because it matters to their health. So I'm not gonna run a recovery massage therapy session at a food court. That would not make any contextual sense, right? Because that's the last thing on my mind right now. But if you're dealing with people that actually connect with those brands firsthand, then your conversions are higher because you're actually making sense to the people who are actually reading the content that is contextually possible for you to actually internalize and actually actualize. If you realize what you need is what you're looking for and you have it right in front of you, that's a perfect match. So those are things to consider when you think about those connections together. And of course, something like that would allow you to opt in, get your email address so that you're not just getting traffic, but you're actually acquiring leads that you can qualify and also make them eligible for them to actually get the experience that they're looking for. So it plays into that. Thank you for that, Pierre. Ryan, good afternoon. We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the topic today?
Hey, Favour. Hey, Pierre. Favour, thank you for opening this room today. And it's so funny because I have, well, not what was it, on the weekend I did an event, no, on Friday I did a corporate event, and I have a new service which is like a magazine photo booth. So it's like a box that you walk in. It's got a glass or acrylic screen, and it's fully branded, and it looks like you're walking into like a magazine. So I've got this new service. It's a great service. People love it, and the queues for it was immense. Like everyone was going crazy. It was a music awards. It was a Women in Music Awards was the actual event in London. And straight away I said to myself, do you know what? There's going to be so many other award shows who are going to want to have something like this. And straight away I said to myself, do you know what? I need an email marketing campaign. But and I seen the title of the room, I was like, who better to ask than yourself, Favour? And then also ask Pierre how I can then use my analytics to follow up to see the success of this. So I want to pick both your brains to find out what would be the best strategy in regards to obviously attacking, and then obviously looking on the back end the data to see, okay, how successful was the campaign. So if you could both pour in, that would be very valuable, and I think a lot of people will take great insight into this.
Thank you. You want to go first, Pierre?
I do. I want to make sure I understand. Could you repeat again I apologize a little bit because I was half distracted when we were speaking, but could you repeat again, what is the nature of the campaign again? So that way I understand exactly the question.
So I have a new service which is it's called a walk-in magazine photo booth. So it's a box with an acrylic screen. They walk in, it's fully branded, so it's got whatever title, the such and such award show, blah 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 blah. It looks like a magazine front cover, and I want to now offer this to other like corporates and award ceremonies and galas and shows, so they can have it at their event. But I thought at the time, do you know what? I need an email marketing campaign, but what I want to make sure that I do is one, make sure my strategy is strong, but then two, also make sure I've got my analytics and the data behind it to see how successful it is. And I need to understand, okay, what I should put in place to ensure that I can retrieve that data afterwards.
Okay, okay. So you're offering a new service that's again it's going to be aimed at corporate. So there's a couple of things. The first part, the analytics part, is a little bit easy. They are, you may have seen this for Google Analytics, but there are UTM tags. These are the tags that you see appended to the URLs a lot of times for a page. You want to make sure that you have if you have any links in your email that they have those sort of UTM tags attached to it, and labeled as your email campaign. Those UTM tags basically tell Google Analytics, when someone has clicked, when a click has occurred, and you use that to help get a sense of, are people going back to a landing page that is behind that URL, or if it's a particular page to your website. But adding the UTMs helps you to identify if that email campaign is getting some sort of result or some sort of response. So that's one thing you can do. The second piece, though, and this kind of comes even before your campaign, is when you look at your messaging for emails, and if you particularly if you have landing pages associated with the email campaign, it should be a simple message. I wouldn't try to cram every offer into that message because a lot of times people are used to using email in their mobile devices, and they tend to skim online rather than kind of read deeply. And what I mean by that is that most people are looking at the highlights of what you're offering. So what you want to do is keep the message relatively tight, so that way you're not giving people 20 pieces of information and then saying click here. It might be more of focusing on what the one single benefit that you have from your offering, and then using your landing page or your website or website page to convey the other two or three benefits as well. But you do want to keep it relatively simple. Use imagery that conveys how your product or service is being used. I think that's important. I think that it's important for two reasons. It will save you time on wording. It will save you time on. It will also help you in terms of encouraging someone to click on your post. And then the last thing I would probably say is, I don't want to take up too much from Favor here. I know this is the stage, what have you, so I tend to be a little bit low key about giving advice here. But the other piece I would give is that sometimes I mentioned about using an image or describing a particular aspect of your offering. Sometimes there are some businesses that will try to, there's some debate about which image to use. If you find yourself in that position, that's where an A/B test might be beneficial. A lot of times, if you have a large enough email distribution, you can run a campaign with one image, run it with another, with the first image being kind of like your base, this is our neutral, we know we get clicks from this. And the second run would be with the new image, something that you're testing out, and then make a comparison, see which one, see if the new image really did perform a little bit better than the first. And it's a little bit more complicated, but what that does do is that it kind of alleviates a lot of the arguments about which image to use. Some things may be very, very basic, in terms of um, one image that says nothing versus another one which has a product. But if you know that you're debating about which image to use in terms, and you have let's say two pictures of the same type of product or service, you can do a A/B test if there's enough audience to play around with. I'll land there, and I'll let Favor jump in with his thoughts.
Great add-on. Thank you so much, Pierre, for that. You're right. I look at it too from a size perspective. Like I wanted to, how boxing there's heavyweight, there's middleweight, there's featherweight, there's all kinds of weights. Think about the same thing with your email, right? I love to give real life examples. So if you're creating an email, like what I just sent today, that email was probably less than 50 kilobytes, right? If you send an email that has images, that's going to increase the size of the email. So the heavier the email is, the harder it is for you to end up in the inbox, because an inbox is primary because it has information that is very important, right? Your information is important, but it's heavy. If I give you heavy information, you may not be able to hold that. So how do you still send heavy information in a light way? Is by sending as little as possible on the HTML text ratio. In other words, when you're sending an email, because brevity is key, right? Because when you're simplistic, when you're concise, and when you're also precise with what you're saying, and then you have a link that's redirecting them to a page that really has more of that information, you're acquiring intellectual property data, you're acquiring first party data, and you're also allowing yourself to get more familiar with the audience as retentioning back into your funnel, right? So when you think about the size, it matters specifically when you're thinking about who is receiving that information and how quick do you want them to receive it. How quick do you want them to receive it? So my question to you now would be, when you think about CRMs, do you have one right now, or are you looking for one?
So I don't currently use one, but I have previously played around with HubSpot and what else? I can't remember. There was another one. That was it. I was about to start to use Octopus CRM for LinkedIn messaging. So those are the two really.
Okay. Cost wise, are they gonna cost you, or is it within a scope that you're good comfortable with?
Yeah, the Octopus definitely. I don't think Hotspot's going to cost me that much. Maybe like $20 a month or something. I'm going to use the basic service. I'm not going to use anything fancy with it.
Okay. One more question. Huh. The number of contacts that you have, like you talked about the basic plan, is it going to require you to increase your budget or increase your plan or upgrade your plan when you increase the number of subscribers you get?
I'm not sure yet because my next question would be, I haven't currently got a list, so I wanted to also find out to say, okay, well, with your marketing campaign, should I be buying a list or should I go and say scout the list myself?
Mm. when I hear someone say buy a list, I cringe because I'm like, you can. There's some companies that do that, right? But I'd rather earn than buy. Misha is laughing. I'd rather earn than buy because if I'm earning an opt-in, that's first party data I did not pay for, if that makes sense. Like I paid for their time, but I didn't pay for their information because they paid attention to what I'm providing and they decided it was fit enough for them to leave their contact information with me. So I'm not thinking about overhead costs. I'm not thinking about oof, who's subscribing, who's not. How because you can buy a whole list and 90% of them are not interested. How are you gonna figure that out? Right? You already spent money, you've spent now it's like, oh, how do we go about this? Another thing that people don't think about is your DNS records, your authentication records, right? When you look at emails, there's some platforms that when you use for email sending, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot because their servers are not equipped or they don't have the capacity to get your emails delivered into the inbox because you're using the wrong system. There's some platforms I know that are not really great for that. I'm not going to mention the names, but I've done my research. So I know when people talk about companies and platforms and I'm like, okay, go you. But when it really comes down to putting to really understand, okay, are we really converting? Are we really, spending money and earning, or are we just wasting it on the way? The platform I use is Flowdesk. I've talked about this before, and I'm sure you've heard of it, Ryan, Flowdesk. And now I even work with them. We're working on something currently at the moment, and I even wrote an article about Flowdesk. So if you click the link above here on this profile, that's the website. Once you click on it, you go to the news tab. So when you click on news, go to the after the SEO context one, the second post is mastering email deliverability. Check that email podcast or even specifically the blog and read that because you have to be compliant. There's something called regulatory compliance. When you go to that page, you're going to see it. There's I'm sure you've heard of it, the GDPR. You've heard about the the spam, making HIPAA law, like all those things that I don't even want to go into because it's too technical. But in other words, you have to think about your email marketing structure and understand, okay, what's the price and what is the deliverability rate, right? Because we're over 8 billion people in the world and over half of the world uses emails. There are 4.48 billion email users worldwide, globally. 4.48 billion. 81% of companies use email as part of their marketing strategy, right? So if we're using emails to connect with people, how are we connecting with them? Where are we going with this information? I'm going to put a link in the chat so you guys can. Hello, Abida. I just saw you in the chat. This is a link. I've put in the link. It's a Forbes link. Please read that link. Just go click that link. 49 email marketing statistics in 2024. Just open that link and see. Just read it. Take your time, read through it. Look at the click-through rates. Look at your industries. Look at, what is working well. Are you above average? Are you below average? Are you in between? Are you on average? Are you off average? Like you have to look at those things. And then from there, it now starts to let you know where connections are being built, right? Right. Over half of businesses send emails between 2 to 4 times per month. 2 to 4 times per month, right? That means if I'm sending an email 2 to 4 times a month, it means that in between the month that I'm not sending an email, there's activity going on. Why? Because in that email, there's a podcast link, there's a blog link, there's a landing page, there's a source file, there's a resource page, there's something I can actually binge and read. Because sending an email doesn't mean, oh, okay, that email doesn't work. Somebody told me this morning that he has a lot of emails. He unsubscribed to like 20 of them because they're just fluffing his mail, and he has about 17,000 of them. So I'm like, how do you deal with all that? It's back, 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 back. So you have to ask yourself, hey Carrie, welcome D, good morning. You have to ask yourself, like, what is your criteria? What is the major driving factor for you? So for me, I'll tell you Flowdesk is where it's at because you get to save money, first of all. when was them when we started, they were like as low as $19 a month for unlimited subscribers and unlimited emails. They still do that today, but the price has gone up a little bit. So I have a link that will give you the 50% off for the first year. So you're not spending much on that, because you talked about a magazine, Ryan. So you don't want to have an email that doesn't look like a magazine, right? You want to make it look aesthetically pleasing. You want to make it look tasty. You want to make it look like, okay, this is actually something I want to connect with people. And Flowdesk does that really well. I don't see any other platform that does it. Other platforms are great. Don't get me wrong. They're all great platforms. But I think what works for you is, getting that data to the point that actually helps you understand what you're looking for long term. So for you, I would say focus on building the right system. Since you don't have a list, don't buy one. That should be the last thing you want to do. If you want to buy the list, buy it after you already know what you're buying or what you're paying for, right? You could be on SEMrush and get leads. You could, buy leads from places. You can acquire leads. You can pay for leads. You can do lead ad campaigns. Those things are there. But before you even tell somebody about your website or about what you have, you have to think about that CRM. What is that relationship management tool that you're using for the customers? And when you start realizing that your click rate starts going up, it's a big thing. It's a really big thing to consider, because you have to be above average with your email deliverability. One thing I love about Flowdesk is because they partnered up with Amazon. And Amazon is big on deliverability, speed, and convenience. So if a platform is partnered up with the SES cloud service, then why am I on another platform when I could be getting my email directly into the inbox? Like this email I sent today, I sent it out to about 2,000 people. It was 67.5% open rate and 66.5% click rate. That's what happened today in today's room. And you saw it. Pierre was just watching. He just came in the room and boom, I said what I said. And then I said a few seconds in, it started to boom up because of the intention. I said I'm here for an hour. So if you see that email 3 hours from now, even discard that email because I gave you context within that time. You're going to look at the date stamp, you're going to look at the timestamp, and you're going to look at the range, the timeline. If it matches, fine. If it doesn't, then that's another problem. So if they have to work together, podcasting is a core factor. So for you, Ryan, I would say, I know you may not like this. You probably haven't heard of this before, or I don't know if you've thought about it, but for what you're doing with the new service, podcasting will be the easiest entry point for you, because you can actually set a base and build your base around the content that you're producing. And then that way, people that are listening to you, whether it's through interviews or through pop ups or through informational guides, then they can listen to what you're saying. And that allows them to actually opt into your list or opt into your community because you have something to offer. Someone's not going to leave their contact information with you if you have nothing to offer. There has to be something in exchange that's of value to both of you that has to create that resonance over time. So that's the major consideration factor to put into play. So want to hear your thoughts on that.
No, thank you, both of you. Everything that you've both shared is really great. Um, I'm now thinking to myself, how am I going to acquire these leads? And yeah, like I'm now thinking about strategy. You've just made me think because it's true. They haven't opted in and it is going to be cold. And the return isn't going to be great. And obviously, I want to do whatever's going to be the most impactful. So, yeah, I need to go back to the drawing board quickly and just really assess how I can acquire the leads or a strategy that I can implement quickly. I know I could run ads, but even that's going to, I don't know, something for you to think
Yeah.
about. I'm
Can I,
kind of
Brian?
lost.
Can I add something to you? I don't mean to cut you off too much, but I want to add something to that as well too. Don't. I would say I agree with what Favor said about the avoid anything. I would tell, and this is for benefit for people in the room. Avoid anything where people are trying to sell you names of email addresses. Those things are scams. The problem is that they are usually you can't verify if it's a real person behind it. And the problem, and don't get me wrong, I know it can get a little hard if you have like thousands of people on an email distribution, but When you're buying a list, you literally are starting off without any real verification whatsoever of those are real people. So there's two problems that arise from that. One is you don't have buy-in, which is a big deal right now because of data privacy. Buy-in helps you not only to get permission, but it also helps you to kind of verify that, yeah, there's a real person behind this email. The second thing, and that goes back to what I was saying about email, the fact that people, those source subscriptions, you don't get the engagement. You have it's just like having followers on social media. You'll have people following your email, but you won't get the engagement on or the click through on the events that you're trying to sell in the first place. But I would say real quickly, if you're trying to go back to the drawing board, think very critically about, what are the in life events that you are either hosting or going to, where you get to exchange with people. Think about that over the next think about what will happen over the next 6 months, what those opportunities are, and set up your email, and then really go after those opportunities to build an audience. And you'll find that and you can still do, by the way, digital advertising, and you can still do a couple of things online, but you just need some verification that people are buying in. When people are selling these things, and I see this for email and for social media followers, I've actually fired clients because they really were not. They have bought those things, and when you buy them, you're not going to look at the analytics at all because you know that it's not real. So like I said, I won't be a dead horse. Favor said it perfectly. Skip over it. But when you go back through and do your planning, just think what are the events that you can do that you can either attend, where when you're meeting people, and that could be a slow way, but it's definitely a good way of building your audience. And then two, even use those opportunities to say, hey, what are the things I could probably host, where I could draw that B2B audience. The B2B audience is a little tougher, but I'll promise you, getting the right people will make all the difference up front.
100%.
I'm with you. It's not the answer that I wanted to hear, but I have to accept it. I appreciate you.
We just gotta be real, man. We gotta be real. Because if we're not, then somebody else is going to feel like, this is something's wrong here. There has to be activity going on. You have to also think about even the email list that you have. You have to also factor in and know when was the last activity of that person's, email. Like when was the last time somebody, opened your email, 30 days or more ago, 60 days or more ago, 90 days or more ago. You're able to know, okay, these people, are they on my list? Are they actually there? If they're not there, send an email to those people specifically and say, hey, we're about to kick you off. If you're not active, you've not been here all year. And then they get this FOMO of, oh, no, 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 let me come back. You can't do that with Instagram or TikTok or any social media platform, because those people that opted in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they're probably just not getting your contact information or connecting with you because you haven't reached out to them specifically. So those people matter. You don't want to just delete them off. You want to give them a chance to respond. And that response is where you get those connections. And then it becomes, oh, it's been a while. Oh, this and that. And then it factors into all those things. So podcasting is the future. I know, Ryan, you didn't respond to the podcasting bit because I know you're probably like, not this one.
No, I've got a podcast. No, sorry, I do have a podcast, but I've kind of positioned it. It's still within the industry, still do with events, but I've created a different platform for it, so it's not directly connected to my actual business, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like a different vertical for you indirectly. It's something you can still do. Your podcast could say, hey, this podcast is sponsored by the other business, right? You have to leverage what you have. You can't wait for a sponsor to sponsor your show when you're the business owner. I don't know how else to put it, because you have to look at it from, okay, you have a resource. If this is going to be where I'm going to get information and connect with people, then why not be on a podcast and actually show out for people and connect with them? I don't know any platform that allows you to connect with a worldwide, real time, after real time, offline activity than podcasting, because people listen to you everywhere. They may not listen to your whole episode or your whole show, but those 5 minutes that they give you is precious. And that could either make or break your business. So there has to be, I would say podcasting is definitely the way to go, because from podcasting, you can get so much content. Then you can contextually connect with the people through email, because you're sending an email as a notification, right? I love sending very short emails compared to long emails. Why? Because I don't want you spending time on the email. I want you spending time on the web. That's the goal. If I give you everything in that email and you don't go outside the email, that's a wasted opportunity, because now you're giving people so much time on their email that they can actually go email somebody else. But if you say, hey, click here to learn about this, they click that. Now they're on your YouTube video page on your website, then that's traffic for you. That's LinkedIn does that perfectly. Pinterest does that perfectly. YouTube does that perfectly. They say, hey, you just have a new video, your favorite subscriber uploaded a new video. And they'll show you the thumbnail, you click on it, you go into YouTube, you're there for the next few days. So that's the power of email marketing, by showing up with a little, but giving them a lot at the end so that they can feel satisfied and connected with you, data wise, professional wise, and otherwise. So that's what I would say about the podcasting bit, Ryan.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I'd never thought about obviously doing like you said, like a featured post of myself on it, which I could do. And yeah, no, that I'm definitely going to apply that. Definitely, that's a good one. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And for those who will have a pink ticket, I see you all there. Please join us in the marketing club. We have great rooms in here, and we are here almost every day, pretty much a lot of times in the week at this time of the hour. So we're over 349.8K members. So feel free to join us. We're hitting 350K very soon, and I have a good feeling it will happen before Thanksgiving. That's my prediction, because it's very close. So, and it's going to be 4 years for me on Clubhouse, November 24th. So I want to do something special, because, connecting with people on Clubhouse is one of the greatest things that I think that has changed for me. Just connecting with real people and learning from people and serving people, and also being of service, at whatever capacity, in whatever way possible. Because if I wasn't here, somebody else may say something, but if you're not able to connect to that person, then it's going to be hard, because you wonder how many times do I have to say the same thing to the same set of people to make the same impact at the same time, simultaneously. That's going to be hard to do. But if you think about what you're saying, how you're saying it, and where you're saying it, it's going to mean a lot to you. I hit over 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. That was my goal in January, to hit 10,000 before December. And now it's happened. So the next goal is 20K, 30K, because these are connections that are with people who in the future may want to connect with you, or you might meet in person at an event. And let's say you're connected on LinkedIn and then you meet in person. It's great. I don't see people exchanging Instagrams or TikToks on at networking events. They're exchanging business cards and LinkedIn profiles or phone numbers, because they want to show up professionally. They want to actually connect with people. They want to know how this works, how that works. So right now, if you're dealing with as a business and you want to use email marketing, this is the perfect time to do it, because email marketing is top of mind. When somebody's paying an invoice, when somebody is subscribing or swiping, there is a factor that includes a zip code, right? Look at the receipt. You're going to see a zip code there, right? Because that zip code is coming from somebody who purchased something, right? And if that zip code is important to them, it means that that information you're giving them is important to you, because you're careful with what you're saying to them, right? You have to think about those things. How do you build relationships with people over time? What is the sticking factor? What is the thing that makes it stick? Podcasting is what it is for me. And it's for a lot of people too, because with podcasting, you have SEO and you have email. Just think about that. With podcasting, you have SEO and email. Where do they come from? On the left wing, if you look at SEO, everything you say in your title, in your description, hey, Nikki, welcome, in your description, in your text, in your thumbnail, in the alt text, all those things, they're going to play a big role in the discoverability of your podcast show. Now, if you go to Apple Podcasts and type in SEO, just type SEO on Apple Podcasts and look at the top results. Look at the shows. You're going to see my show there. The We Don't Play podcast show is there now because of positioning. Positioning. You have to be positioned in a way that it points out to discoverability. When you look at the list of thumbnails, how does yours stand out? Do you have the color that makes it pop? Or do you have the color that makes everybody else swipe away too? So when you look at SEO on the left side, on the left wing for podcasting, the title, the emojis, the anchor text, the bold italics, the HTML ratio is all there. Even on YouTube, when you have a YouTube video, that description box is HTML. That's why you can put links there and those links turn into hyperlinks because those hyperlinks are activated because they're on a HTML servers or base or platform or coding. So if you're putting your content there and you're attaching brands to yours, then you're kind of creating a soundboard because now your podcast actually has words that people can read. Then you have, you have emojis, you have connections, you have thumbnails. Those thumbnails are very attractive. On the right side, you have email marketing. A lot of people have a podcast, but they forget to email market or forget to even build a list. Because if you say podcasting is one-way street or like a one-way road, then you're doing it wrong because podcasting is two-way. Why is it two-way? I send an email telling everyone, hey, new episode out. In 3 months, I get an email from someone saying, hey, I listened to this specific episode, and they actually reference the episode or cite the episode. It happens a lot. It's happened to me both for blogs and podcasts. They'll say, hey, we listened to your episode, and they'll tag it or they'll put it in the email. And I click on it. I'm like, okay, you guys actually found it. Then on the call, I get to ask them, how did you find this link or how did you find us? Then they'll tell you LinkedIn, they'll tell you Google, they'll tell you Pinterest, they'll tell you those things. It makes so much sense. And Sam said it good too. Email marketing is powerful, especially when you segment your customers and personalize the emails. And that will help you increase the conversion rate. 100%. That conversion rate is based on how connected is that specific segment. And this is why I love Flowdesk. They have something called magic links. So it's good to segment, but it's also good to double segment. Let me put it this way. If I know that I have a bakery store, right? I have a bakery store. I sell cookies, I sell ice cream, I sell candy, right? If I'm selling all these things, right? Walk in my door. If I'm selling all these things, ice cream, cookies, cake, and I have a bakery, how am I going to know you like cookies? How am I going to know you like red velvet cake? How am I going to know you like vanilla ice cream? How am I going to know those things if you don't tell me? There's a way I have to ask you that question that doesn't sound too forward, that will make me actually want to connect with you faster. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to put a spinning wheel using Flowdesk. I'm giving you guys examples of what we're doing. I'll put a spinning wheel of Flowdesk, and in that spinning wheel, I'm going to put cookies, ice cream, and cake. When you spin the wheel, whichever it falls in, if it falls in the one that you like, great. If it doesn't fall in the one that you like, still fine, because I can get to know what you like actually, right? From there, you be like, okay, I don't like this, but I know somebody else will. You're going to give it to them. So when you're sending that email is very concise to them. And what Flowdesk does now is if I have a list and I'm sending it to everyone and saying, hey, our bakery is open, right? We have cookies, we have ice cream, we have chocolate, we have, candy, we have this and that, right? In each of those links that I talk about the specific segments of that bakery, I'm going to have something inside called a magic link, which means that if somebody clicks on this link in the email, that is going to put them in a bucket outside the bigger bucket because they already came in and they're already in a bucket and they're in one segment. Now, I want them to be in another segment that is more contextually appealing for me to actually connect with them here. And you saw exactly what happened here on Clubhouse. We were not too many in the room. We just kicked it off. I sent an email. Boom, the room just filled up because I only gave 3 lines, 3 lines of text, and look at what happened in the room. So Ryan, I think you're looking for impact, and if you want impact, that impact has to come from the intentionality. So if I know, okay, out of these cookies, ice cream, and candy, 10% like cookies, 15% like this, 70% like that, so on and so forth. Then when I come back again with another email, I know exactly how to address it so that I'm not making myself feel like I didn't understand what you said the last time. So contextually, I'm using what you said to help me create a conversation for the next sentence I'm about to give you. And if you don't know how to actually spearhead that or get that through, then you'll be guessing every time and you won't know who's interested in what. So that's really one way to really put that into practice for your business. Does that help you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, totally, totally. I'm just taking notes.
Love that. Love that. No, thank you for that, Ryan. Adora, thank you for joining the room today. Good morning. Love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. No, great topic. I've heard you speak on this quite a few times, and I always learn something new. So, just here to learn and to share where possible. I'm in the process of doing SEO and also building my email marketing list. So, ongoing practice. But I think one thing I have, or the way that I think about it is each platform is a driver of traffic, so just being intentional about where you're driving them to. So at a point I would just have my website. This is just with Instagram and a few other platforms, just have my website link. But now instead of posting just the link to the general page, I post it immediately to a landing page to collect someone's email. And then when I start running ads, I'll do the same approach just to have more of a funnel that of course leads to collecting people's email and driving traffic versus just more awareness. So just thinking differently. I'm new to the journey, but that's where I am right now.
I love that. What's the number one factor for you when it comes to people signing up to email? Like when you see someone signing up, what is your thought process?
Good question. So I am creating a membership community. So understanding what industry they're in is important. So I try to focus on people that have certain careers. So understanding the career they're in and then tailoring the membership offering that will bounce back to meet their needs. So that's one thing that I look for. And then I make sure that I have a question for that in kind of the feed where they fill information out, but it's not too cumbersome that they'll just like say, forget it, it's too much information and leave. So I'm very intentional about that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I love that you're very intentional with the membership, where they're coming from, where they're connecting, and what they're actually looking for. So this definitely catches the attention. And you also have a podcast too. So, building all those things into play is a great asset just to make sure that your business is not just hanging by a thread, but it's also connecting with people who need the information that you can provide, through
Exactly. Yeah.
connections. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a big thing. Email marketing is underrated, super underrated, super super underrated. I said this on the podcast, the one that's out right now when we talked about Pinterest and AI, as well. I said, let me actually put this. We had SEO Sundays yesterday, and I'm going to match the two together. So I said this: Pinterest is untapped, SEO is underrated, billboards are misunderstood, branding is confusing, color is subjective. These are all excuses you don't want to have if you want to drive impact and progressive results, because all those factors are going to make or break your connections. We're very heavy on billboards right now because we've seen that billboards drive authority. And if you're in the right place that actually has the right information, then you don't have to start running ads everywhere. on Google, on YouTube, on TikTok, trying to capture people's attention when they're literally standing in front of your commercial and they have 6 seconds to spare and scan your QR code and join your membership or join your connection or join your mailing list or even join your community, right? That's so precious. That is so, so precious. And even speaking of Pinterest, in the next 14 minutes, because we're going to wrap this up in the next 5, somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn. They're trying to figure out how to use AI, ChatGPT, and everything for Pinterest, and they're going to interview me on their show. So I don't get featured on so many podcast shows, but when I do, it's a blessing. I think every year I probably have like between 5 to 10 appearances, and we have over 430 episodes. So you think about like the spaces I'm actually just tapping into a little bit of information and then coming back home. So I'm going to be talking about their information based on, podcasting, AI, how's it going to work. It's a 30-minute episode. So I'm going to be interviewed, on that show. And I'm excited about that because I can speak and tell more people about what I do, what we can do. And it's important to look at it right now, even with AI images, that is like a work of art. Like if you look at this picture, you see at the very top, I created that image with AI, right? And I was very specific with how I wanted that image to look like. So when you start looking at how creative your content is and how consistent and contextual your information should be, then you can start to think about who you're connecting with on the platform. Because there are 4 types of data, 4 types when it comes to email marketing. There's zero-party data, there's first-party data, there's second-party data, and there's third-party data. I'm going to break this down in less than 2 minutes, but you can read the article and get the full picture because it's about an 8-minute read. So I'm only using a quarter of that time just to simplify what it is here. So zero-party data is I meet you at a restaurant, I meet you at an event, at a networking event, and we connect, right? I say, here's my business card. You put your email information, no funnel, no lead page, no nothing. Just, hey, here's my contact there. If you're meeting somebody also for the first time, you're connecting with them and you've never met them before and you exchange contacts, whether it's, 2 people, a couple, or a soon to be couple, whatever it is you want a soon to be partnership. That zero-party data is because I give you my contact and you gave me yours and I give you mine. First party data is where everybody is right now, right? First party data. It means that I sign up to your email list because I want information that you provide. Simple. I don't even want to go past that. Second party data, right, is information that you're getting based on activities that you are actively using to drive more traffic into your base. In other words, if you're using social media to, do commercials or run ads or, have content like Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, when you go to those analytics dashboards, that's second party data because that second party data, you do not own it. Yes, it's your profile. Yes, it's your IG. Yes, it's your TikTok. Yes, it's your name on it. But the data piece, the actual information is not yours. That is owned by TikTok.com. It's owned by Pinterest.com. It's owned by those platforms. So yeah, you have millions of viewers, thousands of subscribers, all the great stuff, but you don't own that information. You don't own a single dime from that because it's not your domain property. It's not your proprietary information, right? That's second party data. And that's what a lot of people use. And they don't move to first party data from second because they just say, hey, click the link in my bio. And then you go to a link tree and then you go to a product on Amazon. Like you're missing the whole bus because you're giving every other company leverage over yours because you're not telling them to go to you first. You're telling them to go to them to find you in the process, which is a wrong way of doing it. Then third-party data is like Wikipedia, Crunchbase, you're featured on a magazine, like third-party information, like people are connecting to you. So if you're using all these 4 points And that can really give you something as well. I see something D said. When I see someone that has signed up for my email list, the first thing I think is that they're not interested. Huh? Why though? That's interesting, D. I did not see that one coming. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, I want to know why they're not interested if they sign up. And then G7 says, my message, mind thinking that you're correct, move friends. Okay. Your life, good play, no cheating friends. Networking is amazing and opens opportunities, but it's useless if you didn't follow up. 100%. Have a plan on place. Also remember to provide value first before ask for something. Yeah, 100%. Ask 9 times. Sorry, give 9 times, ask once. Because if I give you so much, the day I ask you for something, you won't feel like I'm actually bothering you or feeling like I'm overwhelming you because you've given so much that I actually feel like I'm stealing from you. And you don't want that feeling. So there has to be that rate of reciprocity. Or you said I didn't mean not. Okay, no problem. I was like, wait a minute, D, that's different. Yeah, you have to think about their interest, right? Pinterest, take out the P, it's interest. What are you interested in? What is interesting? And what is the interest to bring that experience to fruition? So if you have a podcast and you have great titles, great topics, that's SEO for you because your podcast is being featured on different platforms. And those different platforms have different communities. YouTube has a community, LinkedIn has a community, Apple has a community, Spotify has a community, Pinterest has a community. And you're on all these places, iHeart, Alexa, Siri, you're everywhere at the same time. That is huge. We're in 119 countries right now. I can't even be trying to figure out what's going on in that world. I'm just posting away, being more structural, being more intentional. People sign up to the email list, people connect, and I'm able to know, okay, this is what people want because eventually someone's going to raise their hand and say, hey, I have a question. By the time they have that question, you already have an answer for them and they actually trust you. When your child asks you a question, it's because they trust that you're going to answer the right thing to help them. You're not going to ask a stranger for advice, right? So you have to think about the trust element, the trust factor, the trust and safety factor. And those are things that you have to decide on right now as a business. How is that going to treat you in the future? How are you going to work in the future? Is that something you want to do in the future? If you do want to do those things, then you have to think about doing them now. And how do you do them now? By having a platform like Flowdesk, having a website that's connected to the Search Console, having a podcast that is distributed to all different networks. And that's going to give you leverage. Then you're on a billboard, it's game over because now people can see you on a billboard. They actually want to connect with you because a billboard shows authority. It shows trust. When you go to the airport and the mayor or the governor or the senator or the representative, the House representative, somebody that is really important, right, says welcome to the city, fill in the blank, you feel like, oh wow, this person cares. Not that they said anything, it's because their presence means a lot to you because they're seeing how valuable you are, and you reading or seeing what they're saying on a screen is perfect. Like just like in Atlanta, for example, when you're going up the ramp in Atlanta from the train, when you're going up the escalator, there's a huge LED screen over there. And they're telling you, welcome to Atlanta. They're giving you all those things, right? Because you can see that. And that escalator is so slow. If you actually count the number of seconds, it's probably between, let's say 10 to 15 seconds that you're going up that. And all you're doing is looking up. Either you're looking down on your phone or looking to the side or talking to somebody, or you're looking up and you're looking at the screen. Whatever you see on the screen is what you're reading. So those seconds that you can't move until you get to the top of the escalator is so important. So those things make sense over time if you really focus on creating those connections. So I hope you're able to learn something. All the people with the pink tickets, please click the link above so that you can get, here in the marketing club. And if you want to get on a call with me for 15 minutes, the link is above here. If you're serious about your marketing, let's get action. Let's get ready for 2025 now. We don't want to wait till December because by that time, whoever is ready for January has been ready since, October. So we have to think about those things as well. So I hope you're able to learn something new. And I hope you're able to, have something in place to take your brand to the next level and build. Because if you're building it correctly, a lot of good things can come your way as well. So thank you as well, Sam. I appreciate you. First time connecting. Would love to have you here. Possibly if you're available, we have rooms here, so we'll be talking about this more. But I'm glad you guys are here to listen. So take action, take care, and just be aware that the emails are very important. And if you think about your emails and do it the right way, the right people will come. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. If you send an email a day or send at least 2 to 4 emails a month, you can do so much and you can see so far. And that can really give you like a great business over time. Carrie, would love to hear from you before we wrap up. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Favor. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, you've been on me about Flowdesk, and you're so right. Like this last push to set you up for January is important, and it's a busy time, and things get cast aside. But you were the motivational Monday that I needed, so thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Welcome. We do got to talk, Carrie. We do got to talk. So I'll contact you, and yeah, we'll definitely have to make some really great moves. But I'm really happy that you're taking action too. This is good to see. Yeah, this is great, great, great to see. Thank you so much. Pierre, Ryan, would you like to say anything before we wrap up? Just want to give you a chance to say something.
Yeah, no, just want to say thank you
Um,
once again for both of you guys. Very insightful, and yeah, if you're not a member of the house, join the house. I learned so much in this particular clubhouse room, and I've been applying everything Favor's been saying to me. And long story short, even just being on this clubhouse room, I've had 2 inquiries, and I know it's off the back of information provided by Favor. So look, what he's saying is, it definitely works. So yeah, pay attention.
and thanks as always, Favor, for allowing me in the room. In fact, actually, I was going to ask you, I'll probably ask this quickly of you separately. I'm actually writing an article for CMS Wire, and I'm trying to get some marketers to make a quote. It's basically about hang on, if I can go back and get my note here. It's about the expectation of Search GPT being added to Chat GPT. There's a expectation that will finally come out beta before the end of the year. So I'd love to kind of get a quote or your thoughts on that. And I thought I had you on LinkedIn, but I'll send you my LinkedIn link. You can connect with me there at least. So. And thank you. But more, overall, thank you for allowing me even to come on stage with you at time to time. I know sometimes it's always hard to catch up, but it's good to see you.
Thank you, Pierre. I appreciate that. Yes, definitely would love to be part of that and help in any way possible. This is why we're here. Connections like this are made from intentionalities like these. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And we'll be in touch for sure. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm about to jump into a podcast interview with they're called Social Sales Link. That's the name of the podcast. So it's a big one there. I think they're top 5% or so. I checked their listen notes. So I'm excited to be on that show and I'm about to jump in there. But you guys, please take action, take care. Click the link above. And importantly, take action and don't waste time because we don't have a lot of time. With that said, God bless you all. Have a happy, happy, happy Monday. And I'm going to see you guys soon.